So, her name is Lizzie. She's actually got herself in a really good position now for me to just be able to hold her up. Yes? No? Maybe? Okay, so I'm having to refilm the chatty bit that I did yesterday because I was so completely distracted. Whilst I was handling the gecko, I couldn't really focus myself. So I would kind of get halfway through explaining something and then not finish, and it was just a mess. It was a mess. And then when I tried to edit, I couldn't edit it. It was uneditable because I'd been so rambly and unfocused. So I made notes today and I'm going to try and stick to them. And I will kind of try and edit in a few clips of me handling the gecko whilst I'm talking. So I'm not entirely sure how I'll do that, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. Yeah, so talking about the first week of having my gecko. It's just been about settling her in. I've not really expected anything major from her, just because, you know, it's her first week. Anyway, as far as appetite goes, I've read on quite a lot of forums that it took weeks for people's first geckos to settle in and eat. So I've not really expected her to eat. I think I'd said in the last video, like the first 24 hours, she hadn't eaten anything, even though she'd been offered things. And it's been, I would say, probably much the same as that this first week, except she has eaten 2, maybe 3 crickets, I'm not entirely sure. And also it's worth mentioning that she's shed whilst I've had her as well. I had her that first day, and then she kind of, the next day after that, she started to go white, and then the next day after that, I mean that first day, I've got a massive knot in my hair, that first day when she kind of started to go a bit pale, I did wonder if she might shed, but I wondered if maybe she'd gone pale because she was a bit stressed. So I kept my handling of her to the absolute minimum. Like, I would just check on her, basically, like lift her hide, make sure that she was like alive. And then the next day after that, she like went completely white, and I was like, no, I think that she's actually going to shed. And then that morning, so this is probably the 3rd day, or the 4th day really that I'd had her, came down in the morning, sprayed some more spray onto like her moss, and she came out of her cave and she like rubbed her head up the side of the rock, and I was watching her thinking, oh, that's so cute, like you're like a cat. And then she turned her head around and it looked like she'd ripped all the side of her face open, and it was like, oh. But no, it was just the skin. And then she did that a few more times, and then she went back inside her hide. Didn't see her again for like 10 minutes, and then when she came out, she was completely like, you know, all the skin had gone. She'd shed that fast. And I checked her toes, there was nothing on her toes. In her ears, in her nose. She pretty much got everything off all by herself, no problems. So I was pretty pleased with her. Okay, so I weighed her as well, and her weight was 45 grams at that day. But obviously she's shed since, and she has eaten a couple of crickets. I feel as though her tail looks a little bit more plump, but it could just be me. So again, because she shed, I've heard that they can lose their appetite running up to shedding, and obviously, you know, what they've eaten when they shed, it's a lot, like all that, they eat all their skin. So all that skin, obviously they're not going to eat a lot after that as well. Reptiles' appetites work differently to like mammals and ours. They don't need to eat daily anyway unless they're very, very small and they're growing. So probably that's why she hasn't eaten a lot. And then it's been a change of environment. She's probably a little bit stressed too. So since then, since she shed, and that went all fine, I've handled her daily, but for short periods at a time to kind of start the taming process, but also keep her stress as low as possible. Lots of people say not to handle them until they've had them for a week. I've seen other places where people have said they handled the first day and their gecko was like really tame now. So it's kind of a bit of a kind of between a rock and a hard place situation. For me, I feel as though if you're gonna have a pet that's semi-domesticated, then you should be able to handle them. So I've been handling her, and she's handleable and fairly social in that some people say that their geckos like scream at them when they try and handle them for the first time. She's not done anything like that. She's not tried to bite. She's never been aggressive. She's never shown any kind of aggression. She's just been quite shy. So really, I think it's working. For the clip that I filmed for this video, you should be seeing some clips running through this. It's not like been my face the whole time. You'll see that, you know, she's not able to really sit still in my hands. She wants to move automatically. I mean, geckos are shy creatures by nature. So as I'm handling her, whilst she's letting me handle her, she's always looking for an escape route. She's always looking for somewhere to hide. She's always looking to get away, but like I say, she's shy. It's obviously, she's a bit fearful, and that, like I say, there's been no like fear aggression or outright aggression. So really, I think I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I think it's working. Each time I hold her, and I hold her for a little bit longer every time, she's calmer each time. Like I say, she's still looking for places to run to and places to hide, but she's more calm about it. She's sort of slower. So I'm kind of happy. And like I say, she's shy and she's hidey. When she's in her vivarium, she is always in a hide. I never find her like sat out in the open. And to be honest, I don't think she's going to be the kind of gecko that will be that way. When I was in the shop, like choosing the one choosing between the two, when the shopkeeper was handling her, fair enough, she was calm and she wasn't reacting to people shouting, but every time she went back into her enclosure, she would be straight back into the hide and she'd be hiding again. I figured that it was just because it's in the day, she was probably tired. But really now, having thought about it, it's probably because her instinct is to hide. The other one, whilst it was squirming and was a little bit more like, I don't want to be held, when the shopkeeper was handling it, when it was put back in, it didn't immediately like run to hide into the hide. It went in its hide, but it's like it was out. It was almost as though it was expecting to be fed. So, you know, obviously this is her nature. This is the way that she's going to be. She's not going to be a needy pet, I don't think. She's, you know, some people talk about how their geckos like look to be handled. They're like up at the glass, waiting to be let out. She's never going to be that kind of gecko. I would say probably from what I've read, the majority of them are like this, and the ones that want to be handled and want attention are kind of few and far between. I'm no expert with that, but that seems to be the case for most people from what I've read. Like, their geckos are naturally shy, so really she's a gecko. She's acting how she should act, you know? I'm not mad with her. Why would I be mad with her? Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to talk about at this point, which I may be able to catch on camera in the future, unless obviously it changes, but the food that she has eaten so far, the crickets, I had to like pre-kill it and leave it in her vivarium for her. It sounds so cruel, but she seems to have no hunting instinct whatsoever. Like, you know, you see videos online of people like feeding their, like, oh, leopard gecko eats warrior worm, or leopard gecko eats superworm, you know, 8-year-old leopard gecko eating superworms. So, and obviously when you watch these videos and you look at these geckos, they're like, their owners are like putting the food down, and the gecko's immediately like, oh, that's my food, I'm going for it. She is not like that. It's like I've not done any, like I've put food down in front of her and it's like ran away and I have to catch it again because I don't want to leave crickets in there with her. Somebody told me that their skin, obviously because it's new skin, but you're not meant to feed, like leave crickets in with the gecko in case they nip at the skin, because obviously the skin's going to be a bit more delicate than when it's lived in for a week or so. So I've not wanted to leave things in there with her because I don't want her to get nipped at. So when I have left things in there, I've also read in other places that people, to get their gecko to eat, sometimes people have like snipped into the side of them or crushed the insect so that like the guts are kind of hanging out, and sometimes that will entice their gecko to eat if it's not wanted to eat. So what I've done, obviously having to take into account that she is a shy creature by nature, in that I don't really think that she's something that will take to being hand fed. So what I've done is I've pre-crushed like 1 or 2 crickets at a time and left them in, and then obviously they're dead. I don't need to worry about them biting her. And then I've like gone upstairs to bed, and she's obviously come out at night and walked about, found them and eaten them then. So that's the only reason that I know, that absolutely know for sure that she's eaten what I've left in there. When I've handled her, like, also I kind of made a bit of a, well, I didn't really make the error, but I was gonna make the error that lots of people said try giving them a waxworm, and then other people have said don't fall into the trap of giving your gecko a waxworm when it's on hunger strike, because that will then be all they want to eat. And before I read this, I actually went out and bought some waxworms and offered them to her, and she even turned her nose up at that, like she wouldn't eat it. I've had mealworms since I've had her, and by now, because I've been feeding them, a few have pupated. She's refused the pupae. So really, I'm at a loss as to how to get her to eat. I'm pretty sure that, I mean, she's a living thing. She's not going to starve herself to death. Like, she's going to eat something sometime, but I just don't know how well she's going to hunt for it. She, you know, maybe I'll be able to film it at some point. Like I say, I don't know whether this behaviour will change or whether this is the way that she is. But I've not read anywhere that people's geckos seem to not have any instinct to hunt. So if anybody's watching this and their gecko has been this way when they first got them, what did you do? Because I'm unsure as to how I can teach her how to hunt for things. You know, I don't really think these are animals that are taught how to hunt by their mothers, so obviously I can't take on that role. She's already 6 months old, you know, this is the way that she's developed. I don't really know. I mean, obviously I don't feel as though her tail is skinny, so she's obviously eaten in the past. I'm wondering if it's worth going back to the pet shop that I got her from and asking, you know, how did you feed her? Did you just leave things in there with her, or were you like offering her things? So really, I can't do anything else. So pretty much talked about everything that I want to talk about. So that's been my experience for getting my gecko and having it for a week. I'm not, I'd say I'm pretty relaxed still. I'm not overly stressed or worried about anything. I don't feel as though she's in any immediate threat. I think I'm probably going to take her to the vet in a week or two just for a checkup. Because I got her from the pet shop, I do think it's important just to make sure, because I don't know whether somebody has handled like a sick animal and then handled her and not washed their hands in between, because I've seen people doing like reptile room tours that are just like, you know, picking up a gecko and then picking up a snake and then picking up a bearded dragon and then going back to their gecko and they're not washing their hands in between. I'm like, you do not know what you could be spreading around doing that. So just in case, we'll see. So this has been the first week. I'll come back. I'm probably not going to do a weekly update now. It's probably going to be a monthly update. You'll have to check back. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about, and I will see you in the next video, I suppose. Okay, see ya. And Craig's upstairs playing Call of Duty.